Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back with Scott. Hi, Scott. How are you?
Hey Fabio, how are you?
Very good, very good. Good to have you here. This session today, guys, going to go over futures tradings with gamma levels. And Scott, you've been kind of using our data for, I think, over a year now. I think it's been just over a year. And obviously, you've developed your edge, combining to what you teach to your students. But then, of course, would be great to see, of course, for those who are not familiar, who haven't followed our session before, how you use the data in conjunction with your strategy, how you can find the edge. Of course, trading future has been challenging this year, but I think with the right tools, with the right data, it can really be beneficial. It can really spot some really interesting opportunities. How has your year been, and how are you preparing for next year?
Year's been okay. Like the tariff headline stuff for months and months, and we actually one just came out here. You can see the swipe in them. I don't know. Are you seeing my screen or no?
Not yet. 1 second.
Okay. Yeah. So it's like this is what it was like for anyone knows this was trading for 5 months. Every time it's something said about tariffs, it does this. So this was Wall Street Journal saying something about the tariffs with China. So yeah, it's been very challenging, and now we're at all-time highs. So it's like the markets just sit most of the time, right? So just you get very little activity, just rotates, whipsaws traders back and forth, and then good story, and then sits for another 3 hours. So this is probably the deadest I've ever seen it this time of year. Again, we're at all-time highs,
Yeah.
so it's not that surprising. But yeah, it's been pretty challenging trade overall for the year, I would say, especially for newer traders. But the one silver lining is newer traders actually if you started trading recently this year, you can see what the market can do to you, right? So it's like there's a lot of complacency since not 9/11, since COVID, right? Like, it was basically straight up, straight up, straight up. You'll buy the dip and you're okay. With these tariff headlines and things like that, it's like you're learning, albeit the hard way sometimes, what these markets can do out of nowhere. So you gotta have to respect, even like in a day like today, where it's pretty dead, and you gotta have respect for this kind of thing happening. So having your stops in and more so embracing uncertainty is the biggest for any trader. That's the biggest thing, most important thing you can do, because you never know what's going to happen next, obviously.
Yeah, I think we always talk about it, but the most important part is not really focusing on making money in the market, but actually how to manage the risk, because one headline could actually wipe out all your profits. So I think in the past session we had like those period where we were in heavy negative gamma during the beginning of the tariff back in April and February. And of course, like those moves are very, very hard to react to, but at the same time, they can bring a lot of good opportunities, especially if you have the right tools, right? So what you see here, of course, is your Bookmap together with our levels. So understanding how to read this data can be very beneficial for any type of trader.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest thing that I've learned over the last year, or incorporated in my trading, so that's what you have to do as a trader. That's what I've always had to do. I was a big scalper back in the day, and then I got knocked out of the game, and I got back in, and it's like it's all about adapting to the markets and the changes, right? So obviously these options levels are ridiculous. The options players are more and more prevalent in here as far as the 0 date to options expiration game. Loading up the dealers, and then they have to hedge with the underlying product. It's like it's the newest game in town. So knowing these GEX levels are so important. One, areas where you can initiate trades, or for your profit targets, so on and so forth. But this is the game now, and it's it is what it is. It sucks some days. I'm in an awesome position, and then all of a sudden they start loading up the dealers with the 0 date to expiration game, and I get blown out of the trade. So knowing these areas are very, very, very important. And we've developed strategies over the last year around these levels. But like I've said forever, like back in the day when I was, making money, big money, I didn't, the options market wasn't anything, it wasn't anything to even pay attention to. The options market was there, but it was, you show that chart all the time, the explosion in the options activity. And back then it really didn't have an effect. Now it's the entire game. So, you have to know these levels and where they're at. And, so I look for specific setups at these levels, namely these stop iceberg. That's the core of my trading. And then we also have trades that are playing, off of these levels back to these events. So again, this is the most important thing that I've seen in my trading career, these top iceberg events. But, you have these trades, like there was one off the X2 and then it bounced again off the 1 day minimum. So, knowing these levels can helps with these newer trades that these trading strategies that I brought in. Again, adapting to the market. I would have never even known these things were there, and now they're pretty much the core of my trading. So really, really important to understand where these levels are and how the markets are reacting to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we are also, I think I want to mention, maybe if you have questions, we are also going to have some really interesting updates, especially for Bookmap users. That probably we're going to release them hopefully early next week or the following. We're testing it right now, but we are going to allow you to have converted levels on Bookmap. Why is that important? Because you could actually, if you trade NQ or if you trade ES, you could now have the intraday SPX or QQQ levels that can be overlaid in your chart, right? So we didn't have the capability. I'm working with the Priceline team to get this set up. So this would be a great addition to the indicator. So the ability to have converted levels, right? So if you trade gold, you could have GLD levels. If you trade silver, you could have SLV levels, stuff like that. So very, very important.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome because one of the things is I like the stuff on this chart versus going back and forth to another platform. So that'll be good. I mean, there's a lot on this chart. I mean, it looks like there's more than there is as far as complexity. It's really not. This is just, these are different trades I take on the reversion lines. That's what all these lines are, but it'd be good to have this stuff update real time on here. So, you're adjusting because these levels are prior day levels, correct? Even though they're very, very powerful. Yep. But they're prior day levels. So seeing and then the ones that update are the ETFs, right? Like the QQQs and SPY.
Exactly. Or SPX, yeah, exactly. But they are very, very important, especially because especially during earnings or during like catalyst events, they're very, very important. So having those also there can be key, and you'll be able to adjust what levels you want to see, how you want to add them, stuff like that. So yeah,
that's awesome. And that's
so
supposed to be next week.
Release in the next couple of weeks.
Awesome.
Yeah. Next couple of weeks, hopefully. Yeah, we're testing it now. So yeah. And the other thing maybe I can share my screen for those who are trading futures. So I just wanted to go over quickly what is now possible with some of our platforms, especially with NinjaTrader. You can now look at past levels, so you can see. So for those who are new to MenthorQ, you can kind of see, okay, like how have the levels performed over time and how are they performing now? So you can see how they moved across the past. You can go back up to 30 days. So very, very important because you're going to be able to see historical performance, see how they react around certain levels. You can kind of build your strategy around it. So what you've done, Scott, is you've seen the reaction, you've created a strategy. But again, if you had the ability to go over the past, you could have probably spot some trends that could be there, and you could adjust that to your strategy. So this is already available in Ninja. We are going to release it soon on Transpider, potentially on other platform as well. So working on that. And then the other cool feature is the alert on TradingView. So for those who are in TradingView, what you want to see is being alerted real time when certain levels are reached. So whether it's a breakout or a breakdown. So what we have here is breakout is from the bottom to the top, and a breakdown is from the top to the bottom. So you want to see basically how certain levels are hit, whether it's all levels or whether only certain ones, whether it's just breakout or breakdown. You can set it up here. You can also overlay that with our data. So what you see here is should pop up with our Q-score data. So it can become kind of like a watch list for the day. We have 20 default tickers there, but you can also upload your custom ticker. So if you wanted to get access to a different ticker, so let's imagine that I trade a stock and I want to bring in my levels. You can also be alerted there. So you simply come to your dashboard, simply copy and paste this, put it here, and then let's add the custom tickers. And basically, we upload the data on the default tickers, but if you want your custom, you can upload that. And once you have that set up, just simply come here, create an alert, and then you'll be able to be notified in real time, right? So we create an alert. Once the alert is created, it's going to take in all the levels that were in this indicator at that time. And then basically you're going to be able to receive pop-ups, emails, notification directly into your TradingView chart. So this is very key. So if you're trading futures, is really very important that you have something like this, because then you can kind of like be alerted as soon as the event happens.
Right.
So now we are activating the alert. So now everything is set up. I can even minimize the indicator, and then everything will pop up once certain levels are reached. Or if I want to monitor in real time, you will also be alerted here in the indicator there.
And that's just for TradingView. You said it's not, or you did tell me you could do it for NinjaTrader as well, right?
NinjaTrader, yes, we do have alerting capabilities. We also have alerting on Sierra chart. Yes, the here is only for TradingView. We have some scanning tools on Transpider as well. You can build custom scanners there on levels. The main goal was really to be alerted, so the real-time alerts. So that's why we built it. We call it a scanner, but it's an alerting tool that will allow you to get access to real-time information. And as soon as the level is breached, then you get a pop-up, which is very, very useful.
Awesome.
And then the other thing, of course, for trading futures, I don't know if you guys followed, and let me know, Scott, if you have questions. You can now use Quinn for answering those important questions. So again, option data is very, very complex. There's a lot of things happening there. How can you understand what's going on there? So so let's say that I want to see, okay, I'm trading on Q and I want to see the option activity on QQQ. Quinn is now going to be able to answer all those questions. So not only give you the news or the explanation of what that means, but also give you the kind of market intelligence on the asset that you trade. So essentially, it's going to be able to answer questions for you, answer how to read the data, how to read the models. You can also learn with Quinn, so you can learn how to use our data. Yeah, and then it's going to also give you like what are the things that you should be looking for, summary, any financial news or any like news item that you have, and then a summary so you can be actionable there. So whether you trade stocks, ETFs, futures, a lot of things are going to be there. We're going to also provide you with some charts, so you can ask, the gamma exposure of QQQ or SPY or SPX, whatever the asset is, and then the system is going to allow you to continue like iterating there. Yeah, so this is really cool. We got really amazing feedback, so please, guys, keep sending it, and hopefully it can also help you, Scott, and your community to be more actionable.
Yeah, I haven't even looked into this yet. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll check that out too. So show me a couple like the one main thing that I'm liking in with your I mean I like all your stuff, but how you go like certain products, you watch how the gamma levels form throughout the day. Maybe you can show like a gold, like gold's rallying. So I'm short gold right now and it's starting to rip. I just want to know, do you see something in gold or GLD as far as the gamma levels increasing, things like that, just to help traders and me kind of foresee, okay, heads up here, this thing might rip off the page because again, the 0 day to expiration game is just running everything.
Yeah. So for gold, it's a very good point. So we start basically, if you click on the vol model section, I normally, especially if I look at macro asset class like gold or silver commodities, I would look at the cross asset monitor right here or the cross asset volatility tracker. So I want to see basically where volatility of certain asset is, and then I could actually go and look at GLD, for example. We have a lot of different models on GLD, so I can come right here onto GLD, and then basically the first thing I want to do is, are we in a positive or negative gamma environment, and what's the Q score telling me? The Q score is kind of like my traffic signal alerting me of certain things that could happen. So essentially, we have our option activity, our momentum, our seasonality score, and our volatility right here. So what's interesting right here is that now implied volatility has gone down a lot. So I look at this thing here, this volatility risk monitor, and I'm comparing implied volatility with historical volatility. So a few days ago, we were actually at the highest. So the risk premium on GLD was super high, and now we're going kind of like low. So now the implied volatility of gold, that's of GLD in this case, has gone down significantly compared to a few days ago. Historical volatility is still very high, but you see how this kind of like is dropping. And then, of course, I look at the different gamma levels. So here what you see is you have, of course, this 395 core resistance level, and then to kind of at the downside, we have some certain activity around 365 to 369, and then the put support is all the way down at 341. So the bigger kind of like negative gamma is all the way down here, 340. Then we can look at the different expirations. So there's a lot of negative gamma expiring today, I believe. Yes, 1027.
So what does that mean to you? Like, so that's expiring. Would that push the market higher, or would it open up for?
So this is like a big negative gamma cluster. So this would become a big support area. So if we go to GLD right here, this is like tomorrow's expiration actually. So not today. So you see how. So this 361 area, which is right here. So once the level will load up, you will see how this can act as a very strong support there. So essentially, you always have to think about it as areas where dealers will be hedging. So this put support 0 DTE is exactly this area right here.
So what I'm saying, that comes off, what does that signify to you, or overall, what would that mean?
But this one is, for me, it's, you can play it in different ways. So if you think the price could go down, then you know that there is a strong support area. So you know that there could be a very strong movement to the downside if this area is breached. Or you could play as a support area. So similar to what you would treat a support level coming from technical analysis, where if we are not able to breach here, then we can kind of like go back to the further level. So you always have to think it in kind of like two scenarios. Option A, if we see a strong break, then potentially the market could move faster, because again, the sensitivity of these options is higher because we're looking at 0 DTE's option data. So again, there's 1 day, or in this case, it's tomorrow, so it's 1 day to expiration. So they are very sensitive to change. So if we were to break down strong this level here, and we have kind of pinned around it, and then we now back up, then of course the edging activity of market makers will get in, and then of course you could see a strong move to kind of like to the downside here, or it could act as a very, very strong support area, and then you could play it on the opposite direction. I don't know if that makes sense. The other thing that you can do within kind of the indicator that we really like to do is, if I come here and I'm just plotting my primary levels and my jacks 1 to 5, I want to kind of reduce some of the levels here. I can also build my trading roadmap right here. So I can create my roadmap. And then this is kind of like how we like to think about in areas, so in clusters of levels. So once this loads up, we're going to be able to see how we can kind of like play here. So if we take away the levels, let's take this away. So this, the roadmap is based on gamma levels, right? So the underlying kind of like the underlying data is gamma levels. So essentially, once the level go away, then you have an idea of where you would want to play. So you would probably want to play kind of this move. You don't want to play kind of around this kind of areas here, because there's a lot of strong gamma levels there. So what could happen is that the price basically gets rejected, so you get a lot of chop. So you want to basically play the break of these boxes right here. So from level to level. And then, of course, that's kind of like a way of potentially using kind of like this roadmap feature right there.
So you'd also play, like, say that came up to the X4, you'd play that if it rejects and gets back out of that zone, you can look for more short type setups, right?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So you could play it in a way where, so it's either, it gets to the level, we see a breakout, or we see a rejection. Yeah, absolutely. But I don't want to trade inside the box. I want to trade outside the box. So I would trade this breakout here, or this move down here.
Kind of like it's in the box right now. We're in the
so right now it's in the
two box. Yeah, it's like, so let me show my screen real quick, and I'll show something that may be significant, going forward. So you showing that bouncing around that box, and you can see real time today. They're not doing very well so far. I mean, again, I'm always assuming they're initiating positions. You never know exactly what they're doing, but it doesn't really matter as far as the way I trade. And we're looking for, these areas are where there's, traders invested, trap traders, so on and so forth. But you can see here in that GEX box that you show with all these GEX levels, has been nothing but sell ice today. You had a couple of stop runs, but sell ice, sell ice, sell ice, sell ice. So somebody is in here selling this thing too at these important areas. Again, they're not as price sensitive, so this could move a little higher, but watch this like going into tomorrow and the next day. And this may be for, bigger picture trades. Next time you see this, you have your box that you just drew, and then you see all these GEX levels, you see nothing but sell ice. If you wake up the next day and every time you see this, the thing's down, $30, $40, $100, then that could be obviously a great trade longer term. I mean, I'm a day trader, but if I keep seeing this stuff, like the other day we saw huge buy ice. I posted this on Twitter yesterday. Let's see here. This is big buy ice into these 1 day max, and I think that there was another one down here. But the point is, then the very next day, this thing opened up 40 points higher. This was Friday at the close on top of it. So, I don't think I've ever seen that kind of size coming in on a Friday at the close. So obviously someone knew something, and then you're at those GEX levels, and then lo and behold, the market opens up. And it had, like you talk about, when it breaches these levels, right? So it had breached this 1 day max, and was kind of holding up here all day, right? And then did come down, but then there was nothing but buy ice. So it's kind of telling you, once these levels are breached, heads up. And it held big buy ice came in. This was like 10,000 buy ice on a Friday. And then we open up yesterday at 40 points. So my point is, watch, obviously these GEX levels, and then you layer in the real-time volume coming in that could give you some monster positional trades.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and it's kind of like you have an idea where the reaction can be, right? So the idea behind is, of course, nobody can predict what's going to happen. We get always questions like, okay, so what does that mean, that market is going to go up or market is going to go down? It's not possible to do that. It all, it's all correlated, it's all connected. But the idea behind it is that that the reaction has to happen because there's a lot of option activity at those levels, right? So if you know that, then you can know that the action could be amplified or the action could be chopped. Like if you see today we are in a very, very choppy setup. There's not a lot of what's going on, but like when we break like big levels like the put support or the core resistance, then that's when you could see a lot of like volume and volatility coming in.
Right. And you can see here, like this is crude earlier. I didn't take this trade because I'm trying to lay off the stop runs into these GEX levels. But the point is just to see how these GEX levels, how important they are. I'm looking for more sell ice. Now, just these more obscure markets where the options activity isn't as prevalent like the ES, which is the biggest options complex on the planet, right? So if I get sell ice in here, like I actually did take one here in gold earlier, just to show you real quick what I'm talking about. So one of these batches of sell ice, this is on my AM webinar, came in right at this GEX level. Actually, I'm sorry, I missed this trade. I was bitching because I missed the trade, but you came in here right into the GEX 7. And the way I'm trading these is I'm watching these gamma levels, and then if I get the corresponding iceberg events, so sell ice, so big money selling on top of me, knowing the dealers are very likely going to be hedging here, I look to get out of half of my position the first move out. So first move for me is an ATR, just in front of an ATR. So this did bounce off here and continue higher, but you did get the initial reaction. But you can see here in crude, same thing, same type of thing. So buy stops are usually retail trader pukes. So that's even more of a, it's not usually initiative buying. So that has more of a propensity to fail versus to continue. And then you have two major levels up here, and then you can see what happened there. And then it comes down here and bounces around GEX 7 and holds, right? So just knowing these areas and then using these real-time volume, if you're not using this SI indicator, I think you're making a mistake. But even if you're not, you can still trade this level. I know you got a ton of guys in your room just trading these levels on their own. I just feel way more confident using a volume event. But the point is, you can see how these levels react. Like it's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, and if I can show another thing, then I come back to you, Scott. Like for example, what's coming in Bookmap is going to be the ability to have converted intraday levels as well as the futures levels. So if we look at the S today, for example, you see like obviously the GEX tree right here. And let me take the roadmap away for a second. So GEX tree, obviously we have a core resistance UDT, but let's look at this move right here. So if we now add the intraday SPX level that I added through a second indicator, and in Bookmap is going to be available as well. So you're going to be able to overlay the intraday SPX or SPY level. As you can see, like now we found the reaction at GEX 3 coming from SPX, so very important gamma levels on SPX, and now we are stalling at the SPX core resistance UD. So again, you have one chart. Why is this happening? What's going on here? You now know why, because there's a lot of really activity going on at the SPX core resistance level, and of course core resistance UDT. And then so if you're planning, let's say that you're,
if you break through to the upside, that's telling you something as well, right?
Yeah, and also if we break through the upside, you know that now we also still has a very strong reaction at GEX 1 right there. So we need to break through this level to be able to have a strong move. So it's not that you just have one core resistance, but you also have the GEX 1 level, which is obviously the most important gamma level after the primary levels, and you see this is what's going on. So if we remove 1 second the futures level, now you have the converted level from SPX. Very clear path for the day. We're moving from this 6,908 to 6,928, so 20 points move right down.
So when you're sitting here like this, and then you go and look, like what is the net GEX? How is that increasing or decreasing here? That's like kind of a hint that it's gonna either pull back from here or push through, right? Like that's how you personally do it, right? You look at these GEX levels increasing the intraday. How you always show, that.
Yeah. So what I would do, you can come here and see at the net GEX for SPX, so I can see how it has changed over time. So going back to the beginning of the day at 9:35, so you can see how GEX has come. And then the other very important one is that I like to look for is the GEX difference. So this calculates the difference in gamma exposure compared to the previous day. So you see like we are opening towards kind of like an increase in gamma exposure compared to the previous day. Then from 9:35 to 10, this is when we see this kind of like strong move to the downside right there. And then you want to like kind of time it. So from 10 to 10:30, we see an increase in gamma. And, this can tell you basically like, so let's say we're back here, I think 10 is here. You want to see this picture kind of confirming the direction of your trade, right? So this is the way I use it. So if I'm going, for example, long, I want to see that over a couple of snapshots, the picture is confirmed, because then I'm more confident that the price could move in my direction, right?
So what would it tell you, though? This was asking before too in another example. So if you see the GEX, that heavy positive gamma coming off, does that open the way for a move higher, or is that telling you there's more of a chance for it to sell off from here?
It could also, it could be a sell-off. It could be like, it could be that we see a rejection when this. So whenever, like for example, we see. So a lot of gamma it's either a lot of gamma is taken off from kind of this level, or a lot of more negative gamma is added to this level. So I normally use it as kind of like fading, so similar to what you see here, fading effect. And I also use it to confirm my direction, right? So if I'm looking for a strong breakout, I want to see kind of this picture confirming the direction of my trade.
And if that comes off, though, it signals that this may be the end of the move and a rejection of these areas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's very important. I mean, again, this stuff is running the show, so you gotta have an idea of what's going on with the levels. That's going to be great to have those intraday on Bookmap too, to kind of give you an idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the good thing about Bookmap is that they will update automatically via API, so which is good. We're also going to release the ability for having auto updates. So I think now you have to click on the update of the levels, but we're going to have the ability for it to auto update automatically every 30 or 60 minutes, depending on the time frame. And basically, that's going to allow a lot of more customization and flexibility.
Is there going to be a way to see where the prior levels were as they're updating throughout the day? Like, can I scroll back and see, okay, this moved up, this moved down, type of thing, or no?
No, not really. No.
Okay.
Because not currently. That's why we have the.
Yeah. That's why you have the.
So it's only going to be
the GEX level things you're talking about. I mean the
exactly. Yeah.
The GEX.
The historical levels. Yeah. But you'll be able to choose how you want to update. So if you want to update manually, so let's say that you don't want to move the levels, you don't have to get the updated levels. You can have the whatever So for example, we have users that are only trading the 935 snapshot. You could have that all day and you don't need to update the levels. But if you wanted to receive the updated levels, then you could. Well, question, is the scanner only available on TradingView? So yes, the scanner is on TradingView, but we do have alerting capabilities on some other platform like Ninja, Sierra. Eventually we'll bring it on to Bookmap as well, so being alerted on things, but it's depending on the platform. It's platform specific. Yeah. Maybe I'll share your screen again, Scott. I don't know if you wanted to maybe go over some of your...
Take a quick look at NASDAQ, because I'm long NASDAQ. I just want to see what do you see as far as the because there's nothing GEX-wise for another like 100 plus points, 120 points, a one-day max. So what do you see as far as those GEX levels coming in or not?
Yeah, so with NASDAQ, I always like to use QQQ, and the reason why QQQ is very important because it has the highest volume or option chain volume on that specific asset, so it's actually higher than NDX. So, for example, if you come here, you can see how the volume of QQQ is compared to any other asset. So you see our net cam exposure chart right here, and so QQQ is a great tool for NASDAQ. NDX, of course, is very useful. I tend to use more QQQ because there's a lot of gamma exposure on QQQ compared to NASDAQ, right? So I would have it there, and then if we go on NQ right here, so here we have our intraday levels. So you see now how we are breaking. So here we have our core resistance QQQ. So we were, again, very, very nice. So you see here, we were kind of like stalling around this area for the initial part of the morning, and then we broke out, and now we are basically breaking out all the levels, right? So we are breaking out core resistance, we're breaking out core resistance 0 DTEs, and now we are having some more targets. So on NQ, we have our one-day max all the way there. On QQQ, we also have certain JAX level. So JAX 1 at 26,246. So yes, this is how you could potentially overlay this data. So let's see that you don't see much happening on NQ. Again, you have the support of QQQ there, right? So QQQ is giving you a more clear picture of what's going to happen and what are the areas, right? So again, we could build our roadmap here. It's possible. So we have now our roadmap on QQQ. Let me hide the levels for a second. So you have your NQ levels, you have your roadmap coming from QQQ. So then now you can kind of build kind of like a plan from there. So again, from here, I would be looking if I think the market can push higher at this kind of move right there. And then I want to stay away from kind of this chop area here or this chop area there. And then again, otherwise I could, if the market bounces back, I could potentially play this move here. And if we go further down, you can kind of like trade around these areas.
All right, let me show my screen real quick, because this is where you get a lot of the snarky dudes on Twitter and X saying, well, that's great, but how do I know, you said it could be resistance, and then how do I know if it's going to break? Well, this is exactly how you have a better probability indication by using the stuff I'm using, right? So yeah, it's you think it could be resistance. Well, how do you know? Well, you let the real-time volume tell you. So this event with this Wall Street Journal, the usual headline, regardless, this buy stop event turned into a bullish event. So this is how I judge these events. If the market could push an ATR out, it's telling me it's a bullish event. Well, this is exactly how you can say, is this level more resistance or is it going to hold and then be support? Well, because this volume event tells me, based on my trading, this is why I'm long this market, because it did pushed out of here the AT. You got the stop run, and this is called the stop and hold. This is one of my 6 distinct setups. It pushed out of here the ATR, came back, retested. This is called the bark trade, blind ATR retest confirm. Blind just means I'm taking these in any area. But the point is, if you're trying to decipher if this area was going to hold and fail or go higher, well, you got your volume event, real-time action with the pattern. I'm long, right? The other thing you can look for is, where's the liquidity? Wow, look at that. I will bet anyone around the golf we tag that today, right? So it's like, if this holds, that's giving you a signal like you were just showing. Then you can add in the real-time volume event. Then you can add in, hey, where's the liquidity? It has such a high percentage of getting up here now based on real-time action in the market. So knowing the GEX levels in the areas are hugely important. But again, I always get, well, how do you know whether it's a resistance or a support? Well, this is how I don't know probability-wise, much higher probability of it busting through and moving higher based on my rules on my volume event. So that's how I trade these, and that's why I demand the volume event, and I trade accordingly whether it holds or doesn't hold. So that's just a great example. You showing that area, because you can, if you want to show your screen again, it was bouncing around that area, and people are like, well, how do I know what to do? Well, this is how I have the best probability of taking the correct trade based on watching a million of these things and how the markets react to them and what they should do with that pattern. Then I know on top of that, okay, now we're through those GEX levels. You showed the QQQ. We're through those levels. Now this thing has an incredible probability, is the key word. Nothing's guaranteed of getting up to here, at least to this stuff. So great example of how you use those areas, and once it busts through to potentially put on trades. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think there was another example I was going to show here today too. Let's see. So I tried one earlier in wheat here, but you can see this is what's so incredible about this stuff. It's like, it doesn't matter what market you're talking about, right? It's like, I tried one on my webinar, and the trading webinar, and I got stopped out. And I'm like, because the ATR was so small, I'm like, okay, I'm done trading. And of course, the minute I stopped doing it, it's a winner. That's how it usually works. That's why if you have an edge, you keep putting on the trade. Anyway, I took that one, or I think it was this one here. Yeah, I got stopped out to the ticket. I did that, but it kept moving higher into this next GEX level, and you had sell ice. But you can see bigger picture all morning long. Sell ice, sell ice, sell ice, sell ice. 1 day max, GEX 7. Bigger picture, there's your zone, and you get the real-time volume in there. Look what happened. So again, it doesn't matter what market you're trading. We're looking, if you know your GEX levels, one, this is a huge resistance level, right, for the day, because it's the one supposed, options and options terms is supposed to be the high of the day, or very likely type that area. And then you throw in, you had one little blip of buy ice here, and it's nothing but sell ice. And then, it didn't happen instantaneously. It took all day, but this is actually a huge move for wheat lately with the ATR. That's been like a 1 ATR, a 1 point ATR. Well, this moved 10 points. So again, knowing these GEX levels, then using the real-time volume events can help you really get in these trades. Again, I gave up on this market, and then that's what I get for giving up on it. It could, just because it's so hard, the way with my zones and where I'm getting in and out, it's so hard. A sneeze pushes it and stops me out because the ATR is so small. But again, this is more to show you that it doesn't matter what market you're watching. If you see this kind of activity, just like we kind of showed in gold, like it hasn't happened yet, right? But what has a higher probability of happening at all these levels? So all these levels, we already went over this, and then you see all the sell ice. So watch for tomorrow and see if that happens, right? That type of thing. That's just using both things to help you have a much higher probability of being correct in your trading. And if you don't have this stuff, I say it every day. If you don't have this stuff in your trading, the GEX levels and the stop iceberg defense, good luck. If you make money, great. But I say it every time. If you make money, I can imagine what you can do if you add this stuff into your trading.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm currently long here. You know, and no one says it's easy either. It's like you long, and then you just got to watch it, especially at the all-time highs. That's why the trade sucks so bad. It just sits here, spins for 3 hours, and then it will rip. But you know, according to my rules, they can. You know, I'm not stopped out, so I got long on this event, and my stop's here. And I actually moved it down below this prior event. But it's like they can sit here and do this all day long. You see these algos playing games in here. They just whipsawing traders to death. So target's up here. If it gets up there, great. If if it comes up and stops me out, then on to the next trade. But this is a high probability long. And now you just got to sit through the nonsense.
Yeah, let us know, guys, if you have questions about crypto. We do have gamma levels on crypto. Let me quickly show you.
You got some stuff in
So again,
YouTube as well. Let's see, a couple for me. Ron, Scott, would you use iceberg stop absorption indicators at the GEX levels to enter or exit a market? Well, yeah, that's exactly what I do. I'm not using the absorption. I just use these stop and icebergs. I'm using more these more obscure markets. I'm using more looking for icebergs at these important areas. Opposing icebergs, that is. But yeah, that's exactly what you want to be doing. I think it just enhances, what Fabio and Fabio's guys are doing. If they use this other stuff, I think it would help their trading as well. But they still work. But I just think it would be better if they could see that stuff. Jesse James, couldn't agree more. Scott, these levels are super helpful. I was long on Q from GEX2 targeting converter risk trigger on NDX that were right there and rejected. Perfect setup. There you go. That's what it is. It's like it doesn't work every time. Nothing works every time. You're talking about putting the probabilities in your favor. That's a great trade. Run on GLD. What would be ideal target zones? 1 day max or GEX4, and how could you use the GEX level instance shown on the screen? So how do you decipher that? That's another question I have for you too. Is like I keep telling my room this is a work in progress as far as like taking the sexy GEXs, meaning looking for these volume events in the GEX levels. Well, obviously these are the strongest ones. Do we take them on GEX 10? Should you take them on GEX 10 or 5 through 10? Like how do you trade them? Do you pay attention to 5 through 10, or do you think they're obviously not as meaningful, but they do work? So like, how do you trade them? Like, how do you take them into consideration?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a very good point, actually.
How do you personally do it? Like, do you pay attention to 5 through 10, or what? I mean, I know you like to see them clumped together. So, but what's your, if you see a GEX 10 all by itself, like for instance, I think there was one which we're at, like maybe like ES here.
I would. I normally have the top 5, so GEX 1 to 5, because again, I'm not like a scalper, so we have a lot of users who are scalping all of these levels. I normally look for maybe like more swing move throughout the day, so I would normally use GEX 1 to 5. And then that's how I would use them. And then I would also look at the gamma exposure chart to understand how big of an area is GEX 5, because sometimes people say, oh, GEX 5 is not relevant, but in reality, it can be very relevant because there's a lot of gamma expiring there. So let me give you an example. I can show you how we can do it with Quinn. So if we go here, for example, I can ask, can you give me gamma exposure of QQQ? So now I'm going to get basically an analysis of these areas, right? So here we see also the amount of gamma, so we can see how big of an area this is, and then I can kind of like see where we are. So here we have the top negative, top positive, and I can also see the value, so I can quickly visualize in my head, is this a high level or not? And then that can help me also spot certain areas whenever I go and see the different levels on the chart. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, and, you know, breaking these levels too, like you were showing ES and then Q, it's like, you know, most people are always looking for the top, right? Like, oh, this is far enough. This has gone far enough. This is ridiculous. But it's like if you know these Gex levels, you're like, I probably don't want to be messing around short in here. It broke these levels, so now up to the next one type of thing, right? So that helps keep you out of trouble as well, knowing how these markets respond in these areas, and if they bust through, you don't want to be messing with fading the area once it gets through there.
Yeah, for example, like, you know, you have, let's say that you think the market can go higher. You have your target area. You also can have your kind of like stop area right there. So we have a big core resistance area. We were kind of like pinning for a long time throughout the day right here. So you can also use them as your kind of like trade management or risk management tools, right? So you could say, okay, this is my area where if the price rejects, come back. I don't want to be in the market right there. Maybe this one is my first target. Maybe this one is my second target, and maybe my final target could be my one-day max, right? So again, you have kind of like the plan, and you're using the Jax level. Oops, sorry for that. You're using the Jax level to kind of like set up kind of like the plan. So target 1, target 2, target 3, and then essentially you can see like how you can kind of manage your trade right there, and you can calculate the risk reward, the performance, all of that stuff. But
right, and I can just hear people saying, well, how do you know which target to go for? Well, for me, the way I do it is if I get a volume, opposing volume event, you know, before that, meaning if I'm long and I get a volume event, the stop price per volume event that proves short, then especially at a level, then I'm out. If I don't get anything, then you can try to hold to the next level, or if you get an event at the next level that you were thinking about getting out, and then an event proves bullish, then you can add to the trade and play for the next Gex level. So that's what I mean about combining the two to help you, you know, really, really enhance your edge in these markets. Like it's not
absolutely.
It's not just total guesswork. Like it's, you know, because I struggle with that too sometimes. Like, well, you know, I have a nice trade on. It's like, well, where do I get out? And how long do I hold it? You know, for me, it's like I'll get out at important areas. You know, besides the Gex levels, I'll try to get out important areas. But a lot of times, I'm also making the mistake of getting out, and the market continues. Well, I need to pay attention a lot more of how the market's reacting to these Gex levels too, where because I'm just so conditioned from my prior trading before I had these Gex levels just to get out of these areas. Well, if you get to an area that you normally would get out of, but you just see you pierced, like we showed with NASDAQ, just pierced like the Gex 2 and everything. Well, you can say, okay, well, guess what? I think this is probably going to go through this level that I would traditionally get out, and you can hold it for the next Gex level type of thing. So these areas are just so important. You have to have it in your trading. I mean, if you want to stay in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a few minutes left. Let me know if you have questions. Was a question about crypto. So we do have crypto models similar to the Jax levels on futures. So you can have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, and other crypto levels directly onto your chart. So you can have your end of day levels here, and basically it's using the data coming from the different exchange, whether it's Deribit, Binance, or OKX. Deribit has far more option activity than the others, and as you can see here, you can see how the levels can play out on different crypto as well. So you can treat it as the same way. Again,
yes, short retested.
Those can be like areas that you target, areas that you get in, areas of rejection coming from the option market. I don't know, Scott, if you have anything to add on your side.
Not really. Just watching this NASDAQ creep and crawl higher. I think of some questions I had for you. Of course, I forgot them. I mean, you went over a lot of the stuff that I questioned. I mean, your website's just got a lot of stuff on it. You know, once you understand what you're looking at, but it's like it's a lot. It's all valuable. Don't get me wrong. It's just a lot to. So if someone's gonna start, like even the videos, like you go to the training videos, like there's tons of them. Like what would be the top 5 that you would recommend to watch to start to understand how to trade these GEX levels, how to monitor them, trade them? Like what would be the top 5 in your education area? Top 5
Yeah,
videos.
This is a great question. This is also why we developed Quinn, because a lot of this information is overwhelming, right? So it's a lot of things that we're not used to it. So what you can do with Quinn now, not only asking questions, but can you actually build me a 7 days learning path for futures trading, right? So again,
cool.
This is really highlighting links to kind of like videos, documentation, all of that stuff, and then it's gonna basically put them right here for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and then of course you can say, okay, like I'm familiar with this topic. Can you help me basically augment that or basically get access? So the cool thing about this, a lot of people ask us, oh, what's the difference between ChatGPT or Claude or any other tools? Well, this tool does not have, so ChatGPT does not have our data, right? So we trained Quinn to be able to read our data, whether it's our documentation, our internal methodologies, our academy, all of the things that we do within MenthorQ, and that's going to help you not only get access to that content, which some of this can be standard. You know, if you're talking about option theory, that's obviously standard. But what if we now want to use your data? So how can now I apply to your data? Again, that's something that we don't. It's proprietary, so you can access it through our platform. It's not available in ChatGPT or any other tool, so you can access it through Quinn. So you can use knowledge and data together, which I think is the big differentiator.
Yeah, I got to start playing with that thing. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's gonna get better and better. So we're gonna keep growing. We're gonna add more data, more models. It's gonna allow you to like run like intraday inferences, like alerts, news. It has news also. It's gonna help you understand what's going on. So let's say that you open the market and NQ is down 2%. You want to know what's going on. It can do that for you as well.
I already got emails coming in asking for the recording, so let me know when you post this. How long does it take to post on YouTube?
It's already live, so it's already on YouTube. So if you go on our YouTube channel under live, then it's already there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Scott, as always. Love having those sessions with you, and hopefully we can do another one very soon. Let us know, guys, if you have any questions. You can find information on me and Scott, on our MenthorQ and Scott in the YouTube link if you're on YouTube, or you can find Scott at scottpulcinitrader.com. Any question, let us know. You can scan the QR code to get access to all the different links here. So you can create a free account. You can try Quinn for free. Please do that. Play around with it and let us know what you think and if it's useful for you. And send us an email if you want to reach out to us at info@mentorq.com.
Awesome. Exciting stuff. You guys just keep adding more and more.
Thank you. Yeah, more and more. Hopefully we can help you find the edge and get access to high-level models. And then Scott, for Black Friday, we're going to have something very cool. So stay tuned. We are 1 month away, so we'll be in touch, but we can do probably a lot of different sessions throughout that period because we're going to have something very interesting for futures traders around Black Friday.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, everyone. See you, Fabio.